So continuing on with the build. Once again, it ended up being much longer than I expected, so I will just keep this video focused on the bottom bracket and the crank. And I know we all love bottom brackets, especially the Pressfit ones. So this will go a bit in depth about the bottom bracket, and then we're gonna get the crank on as well. I will try to keep this video under 10 minutes. If you want to skip to any specific part, check all the time thingamajigs. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And yeah, let's start building. So I decided to go with a Sugino ceramic bottom bracket. There's a couple of reasons for that. The main reason was since I'm going to use Shimano Cranks, which is 24mm spindle, and Open U.P takes the BB386 Evo bottom bracket, which is 30mm spindle, which is why I wanted a proper conversion bottom bracket instead of using reducers or adapter cups, because I think that just add one more layer of possible creaking. And to put a bit of Japanese flair on this Open, Sugino bottom bracket felt like a good solution. There's a few other brands that makes these types of conversion bottom brackets as well, so I'll try to link a few in the description. So to address the whole ceramic thing, the general consensus is ceramic bottom brackets are not really worth the money. Steel ball bearings are probably more reliable in the long run. I'm curious and I wanted to see how it works out this time. I've used it before and it lasted about 1 season. On this Sugino BB, the cups are actually metal cups, which I hope will be more reliable than typical plastic cups. Of course, they're a little bit heavier, which probably offsets the weight of the ceramic bearings, but such is life. Now before you do anything, just double check once again that the Di2 is working and it's no loose cables anywhere. It's gonna be a pain to take the bottom bracket out to fix that afterwards. Make sure the cables are tucked away neatly, and we're just gonna prep the shell with some degreaser and a rag and make sure it's dry. Then I'm gonna use my secret sauce, the Wakos Brake protector. And this Japanese wonder grease, I think it's made for brake pads on cars originally. Don't take my word for that though. I learned about this from a mechanic at my local bike shop. Since using this for Pressfit, I haven't had a single creaking bottom bracket. So it's seriously some special stuff. Unfortunately, it seems to be very hard to come by outside of Japan, but check the description and I will try to put any links I can find. A thin layer of this brake protector in both the bottom bracket shell and then a thin layer around the bearing cups. It's really sticky, so gloves will be a good idea, I think, and try to not get it on the bearings or inside the cup because it's really sticky. I had a few people asking me if it's like Loctite, but that's not. It's more like a really thick grease because it doesn't harden or anything like that. And remember, the cups are left and right specific. So once the brake protector is on, we'll just press the cups in by hand. You should be able to push them in enough so they stay in there. So I'm going to use the Shimano BB386 Pressfit tool, and I'm going to press both cups at the same time, the same way you do with BB386. And this is the same method that Sugino actually recommends for these cups as well. You don't necessarily need to have this exact Shimano press tool. I will link a couple of alternatives in the description. The important part is the press adapters and that they are made for the 24mm bearings. These press adapters are what is gonna keep the cups going straight in the shell. But even so, once you start pressing them in, you just take some time to make sure they're going in straight and not at an angle, because that is what will eventually cause creaking and other kinds of nasty stuff. And you just press them in until you start to feel some resistance. It's important not to press them too hard because you could damage the cups, but just make sure it's flush against the outer shell. Then all we have to do is remove the press tool and wipe off any excess brake protector grease. And our Pressfit bottom bracket is installed. Now to install the cranks. If you've seen my other videos, then you know that I like grease. Basically, I will always put grease at every interface in the frame. So of course inside the bottom bracket on the bearings, as well as the crank spindle. And I'm using normal Shimano premium grease for this. And once everything is greased up nicely, I can just put the crank on. On the non-dry side, you will have to use a small spacer that comes with the bottom bracket. This spacer is made to go with the Shimano cranks. If you use Sugino track cranks, you actually don't need a spacer, but for Shimano ones, you will have to install that. Put the non-dry side crank arm on. Install the bearing preload nut. You just need to tighten this hand tight, basically. You just want to eliminate any kind of play in the crank, so hand tight is good enough. And don't forget to put the safety tab down. Then tighten the crank arm screws. Just use a normal Allen wrench to tighten them down in an alternate fashion. And then use a torque wrench for the final push, and it's 10 to 14 Newton meters. So that's it for the bottom bracket and the crank. Next video we'll go into some stereo cutting, some brake bleeding, and whatever else I can fit in a 10-minute video. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and you can always subscribe if you feel like it. It's always appreciated. And check the description for links to different parts and tools and stuff like that. So, and see you in the next one. Peace.